The desperate signal Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the observation deck of the UES Horizon, watching the stars drift past in the endless black of space. The Deep Space Patrol vessel had been cruising the outer rim of human territory for 6 months now, checking sensor buoys and monitoring for any signs of trouble. It was lonely work, but Elena knew how important it was. Humanity had only been traveling between the stars for 50 years, and there was still so much they didn't know about what was out there. The bridge was quiet when Elena returned from her morning rounds. Her crew of 32 had been working together for 3 years, and they moved with the smooth efficiency of a well-oiled machine. Lieutenant Commander James Torres, her first officer, was reviewing the daily reports when the communications array started beeping frantically. "Captain, we're receiving an unknown signal," called out Communications Officer Lisa Chun from her station. "It's heavily encrypted, but the computer is working on it now." Elena moved to Lisa's station and looked at the data scrolling across the screen. The signal was coming from far beyond human space, from a region they had never explored. The encryption was unlike anything in their databases, but their quantum computers were slowly breaking it down. "How far away is the source?" Elena asked. 237 light years, Captain. The signal is coming from the Andromeda sector." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. No human ship had ever traveled that far from Earth. If someone was sending signals from there, it meant they had made contact with alien life. Real, intelligent alien life. "Captain," Lisa said, her voice tight with excitement, "the computer has broken the encryption. The signal is a distress call, but it's not from humans." Elena stared at the screen as the translated message appeared. The words were in English now, but she could tell they had been written by someone very different from any human. "Emergency. Transmission from the Thyral Collective to any civilized species within range. We are under attack by the Vex Dominion. Our 3 worlds are surrounded. Our children are dying. We are a peaceful people with no weapons of war. The Vex consume everything in their path. If you can hear this message, please help us. We have days, maybe hours left. Our coordinates are included. Please, we beg you, do not let our civilization end like this." The bridge fell silent. Elena read the message 3 times, her hands trembling. This was it. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since they first reached the stars. First contact with alien life, and they were asking for help. "Lisa, how old is this message?" "Based on the transmission data, it was sent 4 days ago, Captain. But with the distance involved, it's been traveling for 4 days to reach us." Elena nodded grimly. 4 days. These aliens had been under attack for 4 days, and their message had only just reached human space. If they were still alive, they needed help immediately. "Get me Admiral Chun at Fleet Command. Priority Alpha authorization." While Lisa worked to establish the connection, Elena studied the message again. The Thyral called themselves a peaceful people, which meant they probably had no military, no weapons, no way to defend themselves. And this Vex Dominion was trying to destroy them completely. "Captain, I have Admiral Chun on the line." "Admiral." Marcus Chun appeared on the main screen. He was a man in his 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that had seen 40 years of military service. Elena had served under him during the Titan crisis, and she knew he was one of the most brilliant military minds in human space. "Captain Vasquez, what's the emergency?" "Admiral, we've received a distress call from aliens. They're under attack and asking for help." Chun's face went completely still. "Repeat that, Captain." "We've received a distress call from aliens. Sir, they call themselves the Thyral Collective, and they're being attacked by something called the Vex Dominion. They're asking for help." Elena transmitted the message to Fleet Command. She watched Chun's face as he read it, seeing his expression grow harder with each line. "How far away are they?" 237 light years, Admiral. The Andromeda sector. Chun was quiet for a long moment. Elena could see him thinking through the implications. This was the biggest decision in human history. First contact with alien life, and they were asking Earth for help in a war. "Captain, I want you to plot a course for the Andromeda sector. Don't jump yet, but be ready. I'm calling an emergency session of the Defense Council. We need to decide how humanity responds to this. What should I tell my crew, Admiral?" "Tell them the truth. Tell them that today, humanity learned we're not alone in the universe. And tell them that somewhere out there, innocent people are dying while we decide what to do about it." The connection ended. Elena stood in the quiet of her bridge, looking at her crew. These were good people who had joined the Earth Defense Fleet to explore the stars and protect humanity. Now they might be asked to travel farther from home than any human had ever gone, to fight in a war for people they had never met. But as Elena looked at the message one more time, she knew what her answer would be. The Thirel had sent their call for help into the dark void of space, hoping someone would hear them. Someone had heard them. The question now was whether humanity would answer. Within hours of the emergency session, the decision was made. The Defense Council voted unanimously to send a fleet to help the Thirel. Admiral Chun was given command of the largest military operation in human history. At the orbital shipyards around Earth, Mars, and Luna, the greatest fleet humanity had ever assembled began to take shape. 300 ships, from massive dreadnoughts to nimble frigates, all equipped with the most advanced weapons and technology Earth could produce. Colonel Sarah Bennett got the call while she was training with her Marines on the lunar surface. She was a small woman with fierce determination and the respect of every soldier under her command. Her battalion was known throughout the fleet as the Iron Wolves, and they had never lost a battle. "Colonel, you're needed at Fleet Command immediately," her aide informed her. "Priority Alpha orders." Sarah looked at her Marines, who were practicing zero-gravity combat maneuvers. These were the best soldiers humanity had ever produced, trained to fight in any environment, against any enemy. "Listen up, Marines," she called out. "We're going to war. Not against other humans, but against aliens who attack innocent people. We're going to show them what happens when they threaten peaceful civilizations." Her Marines cheered. They had trained for years for this moment, and they were ready. Wing Commander David Park was reviewing fighter specifications when he received his orders. He was one of the youngest officers to reach his rank, but he had proven himself in dozens of simulations and training exercises. His fighter squadron, the Crimson Hawks, was equipped with the most advanced spacecraft ever built. "How many pilots do we have available?" he asked his second-in-command. 800, sir. All volunteers. When word spread that we were going to fight aliens, everyone wanted to be part of the mission. David nodded. That was the human spirit. When faced with the unknown, when called to help others, humans didn't hesitate. They stepped forward. Fleet gathered at the edge of human space, a sight that took everyone's breath away. 300 ships representing the combined military might of Earth, Mars, Luna, and the outer colonies. Soldiers, pilots, engineers, and medics from every nation and culture on Earth, united in a single purpose. Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of the U.S. Leviathan, the flagship of the fleet. The massive vessel was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to level a small moon. But it also carried hospitals, workshops, and living quarters for 50,000 people. "All ships report ready for jump, Admiral," announced the communications officer. Chun nodded. "Signal the fleet. We jump in 60 seconds. He opened a channel to all ships. "This is Admiral Chun. Today we make history. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. We don't start wars, but we finish them. We don't abandon those who call for help, even if we've never met them. And we don't let bullies win. The countdown began. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Space twisted around them as the fleet entered hyperspace. When the stars returned to normal, they were no longer in human space. They were racing through the void between star systems, heading toward a war that would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. The journey would take 2 weeks. 2 weeks to prepare for a battle against an enemy they had never seen. 2 weeks to get ready to face the unknown. 2 weeks to prove that when Earth's children went to war, they brought everything they had. In the cargo holds, Marines checked their weapons and armor. In the fighter bays, pilots ran through combat simulations. In the medical bays, doctors prepared for casualties. And on the bridges of every ship, officers studied everything they could about the Vex Dominion and the Viral Collective. They were heading into the unknown, but they were not afraid. They were human, and humans had never backed down from a foe. Fight when innocent lives were at stake. The Vex Dominion was about to learn what that meant. Pasterisk. The battle for hope. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Andromeda sector, and what they saw made every person on every ship fall silent. 3 beautiful blue-green worlds hung in space like jewels, but they were surrounded by a nightmare. Hundreds of dark, twisted ships swarmed around the planets like metal locusts, and the surface of each world glowed with the fires of destruction. Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Leviathan, watching the tactical display. With growing anger, the computer was counting enemy vessels, and the numbers kept climbing. Over 600 Vex ships, from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even the largest human vessels. "My God," whispered Captain Rodriguez from the science station. "They're not just attacking, they're consuming everything." The sensors showed the truth of what was happening. The Vex ships were literally eating the planets, stripping away the surface layer by layer and converting the matter into more ships. Whole cities were being devoured, mountains were disappearing, and the oceans were being drained. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Commander Torres, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It's weak, but it's coming from underground. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, but filled with desperation and fear. "Unknown ships, this is Harmony Singer Veltar of the Viral Collective. We detected your arrival. Are you the ones who answered our call for help? This is Admiral Marcus Chun of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." There was a pause, then a sound that could only be described as crying, but beautiful and sad at the same time. We had lost hope. "The Vex have been consuming our worlds for 7 days now. Our people hide in deep shelters, but the Vex are digging deeper. Soon there will be nowhere left to hide. How many of your people are still alive? Perhaps 2 million on all 3 worlds. We were 12 million when the Vex arrived." Chun felt his jaw clench. 10 million people dead in a week. The Vex weren't just conquerors. They were exterminators. "Harmony Singer Valtar, we're going to get you out of this. But we need you to stay in those shelters. This is about to become a war zone." "Admiral," interrupted Commander Sarah Torres from the tactical station, "we have incoming Vex patrol. Ships heading our way fast." Chun looked at the display. 50 Vex ships were breaking away from the main fleet, moving toward the human position. They were strange vessels, looking more like living creatures than machines. Their hulls were covered in what looked like scales, and they moved with an organic fluidity that was unsettling to watch. All ships, battle stations, fighter squadrons. Prepare for launch. Let's show these things what humans are made of. Wing Commander David Park was already in his fighter, running through final checks. His Crimson Hawks were the most advanced fighters in the human fleet, equipped with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. Around him, 700 other pilots were preparing for humanity's first battle against alien enemies. All Hawks, this is Crimson Leader. We're going to hit them fast and hard. Remember your training, trust your wingmen, and show these aliens why Earth builds the best pilots in the galaxy. The fighter launch was a sight to behold. Wave after wave of sleek human fighters poured out of the fleet carriers, forming up into attack formations. They moved with precision and grace, like a deadly ballet performed in the void of space. The Vex ships came to meet them, and the first thing the human pilots noticed was how they moved. The alien vessels didn't fly like machines. They twisted and writhed through space like living things, making them hard to target. Crimson Leader, this is Hawk 7. These things are moving weird. They're not following any flight pattern I've ever seen. Adapt and overcome, Hawk 7. That's what we do. The first exchange of fire lit up space. Vex weapons were unlike anything in human experience. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, they fired streams of what looked like living darkness. It seemed to eat through anything they touched. But the human pilots were ready for something different. Break and attack. Pattern Delta 7. The human fighters scattered in all directions, then came back in from angles the Vex couldn't predict. Their weapons were precise and deadly, and the first Vex ship exploded in a shower of organic debris, but the aliens adapted quickly. Their ships began to move in new patterns, learning from each exchange. Some of them even seemed to change shape, growing new weapon pods or armor plating. Admiral, called out Colonel Sarah Bennett from the Marine Command Center, the Vex are adaptive. They're learning from our attacks and modifying their ships in real time. Then we'll learn faster, Sean replied. All ships implement protocol. Omega, time to show them what human creativity looks like. Protocol Omega was something the human fleet had developed during the journey. It was a tactical system that used the diversity of human cultures and thinking styles as a weapon. Ships from different Earth nations would attack using completely different tactics, making it impossible for the enemy to predict what was coming. Next, the U.E.'s Bushido, crewed primarily by Japanese officers, attacked with precise, coordinated strikes that followed ancient samurai principles. The U's Molnir, with its Scandinavian crew, used aggressive frontal assaults that overwhelmed enemy positions. The U.E.'s Condor, with its Latin American crew, employed fluid, unpredictable maneuvers that confused and disoriented the Vex. The alien fleet found itself facing not one enemy, but dozens of different fighting styles, all coordinated into a single, devastating assault. Every time they adapted to one tactic, another ship would hit them with something completely different. "This is impossible," came a transmission from the Vex fleet. The human computers had learned to translate their language. During the battle, how can one species fight with so many different methods? Because we're not just one species, Sean said, knowing the aliens couldn't hear him. We're humanity. And humanity is diverse. The battle raged for hours. The Vex fought with desperate fury, but they were facing something they had never encountered before. Every other species they had consumed had fought in predictable patterns. The Feral had been pacifists with no military at all. Other conquered worlds had used conventional tactics that the Vex could easily counter, but humans were different. They were unpredictable, creative, and absolutely refused to give up. When their ships were damaged, they kept fighting. When their weapons failed, they improvised new ones. When their tactics were countered, they invented new ones on the spot. Wing Commander Park's fighters were running low on ammunition when he came up with a desperate plan. All Hawks, this is Crimson Leader. We're going to try something crazy. Form up on me for a kamikaze run. "Sir, that's suicide," protested one of his pilots. "No, it's not. We're not going to ram them. We're going to make them think we are. Trust me." The human fighters formed into a tight formation and dove straight at the largest Vex ship. The aliens, thinking they were facing a suicide attack, concentrated all their defenses on the incoming fighters. At the last second, the human ships scattered, and the real attack came from the UES Leviathan, which had been using the fighters as a distraction. A massive human dreadnought's main guns fired at point-blank range, and the Vex command ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Without their command vessel, the alien fleet began to fall apart. "All ships, press the attack," Chon ordered. "Don't let them regroup." The human fleet pursued the retreating Vex vessels, destroying them one by one. The aliens had never faced an enemy that fought with such coordination and determination. They had conquered 100 worlds, but they had never met anything like. Humanity. As the last Vex ship exploded, the human fleet turned its attention to the 3 Thyral worlds. The damage was enormous. Whole continents had been stripped away, and the oceans had been partially drained. But the planets were still habitable, and the underground shelters had protected the survivors. "Admiral Chun," came the voice of Harmony Singer. "Veltar, we cannot believe what we have witnessed. Your people fought with such courage, such unity. How can we ever repay you?" "You don't need to repay us," Chun replied. "We did what any decent people would do. We helped those who needed help. But you traveled so far, risked so much, for people you had never met. That's what makes us human. We don't abandon our friends, even if we've never met them." In the days that followed, the human fleet worked alongside the Thyral to begin rebuilding their worlds. Human engineers shared their technology, while Thyral scientists taught humans about their advanced biotechnology. It was the beginning of something new, the first alliance between humanity and an alien civilization. Colonel Bennett's Marines worked alongside Thyral rescue teams to search for survivors. Wing Commander Park's pilots helped establish patrol routes to protect the system from future attacks. The diversity that had made humanity such effective warriors now made them excellent partners in peace. The Thyral were amazed by human culture. They had never seen a species with so many different ways of thinking, so many different approaches to problems. Their own civilization was harmonious but uniform. Humanity showed them that diversity could be a strength, not a weakness. "Your species is remarkable," Veltar told Admiral Chun during a meeting on the Thyral homeworld. "You fight like demons when threatened, but you heal like angels when the fighting is done." "We're not perfect," Chun replied, "but we try to do the right thing, and we never give up on those who need help." As the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, they carried with them not just the satisfaction of victory, but the knowledge that humanity had found its place in the galaxy. They were not conquerors or empire builders. They were protectors, allies, and friends to those who needed them. The Vex Dominion had learned a hard lesson. There was a new power in the galaxy, one that would not tolerate the destruction of innocent civilizations. Humanity had announced its presence with the thunder of guns and the roar of engines, but also with the gentle hand of aid and the warm embrace of friendship. Word of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. Other peaceful species began to send their own messages to Earth, asking for friendship and alliance. The Thyral Collective became the first member of what would eventually become the Galactic Alliance, with humanity as its protector and champion. Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of the Leviathan as the fleet prepared to jump back to human space. Behind them, the 3 Thyral worlds were healing, their people emerging from underground shelters to rebuild their civilization. Ahead lay Earth, and the knowledge that humanity had passed its first test as a galactic power. They had answered the call for help, and in doing so, They had shown the galaxy what Earth's children were truly made of. The universe was vast and full of wonders and dangers, but humanity was ready for whatever came next. They had proven that when the innocent called for help, Earth would answer. And when Earth answered, it brought hope with it. Asterisk,